This is a facial recognition comedy podcast, and I'm Iram Parveen Bilal.
I'm Pallavi Ganalan.
I'm Zara Ali. Fizza will join us later. But welcome, Iram.
Yeah.
Thank you. Finally, I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. Iram went to Caltech, which is not where I met her. I met her after you'd graduated, and it was like through alumni events, basically, around Caltech. And then you became a filmmaker.
I did.
We are so excited to have you on because you're Pakistani. You're making Pakistani films, and you're like, you have like such a great platform for like women, South Asian women.
And you support our cause. You've come to our shows.
Yeah.
You're so supportive. Thank you so much.
No, it's amazing to see Desi women doing well. But, you know, Pallavi, you stood out to me because you are a sick dancer.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was an undergrad, I was in the first Caltech dance show.
Yeah.
And I pushed to do a Bollywood dance show.
Yeah.
First at Caltech, when there were a lot of IIT like grad students who were all into South Indian classical.
Where was this dancing going on?
At Caltech.
At the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, where there was, when I went to school, there was like another
so did you guys
Desi.
overlap in undergrad or
No,
anything?
I'm 2 decades older than her.
No, you're not.
I just
Stop
look
it.
younger.
You look
No.
amazing. You have gray in your hair, which is like, I love that in hair.
This is reverse gray. This is platinum blonde. I dye my hair blonde. Like, not blonde. I dye my hair a certain color when I shoot a new film. And so this last film, I had my whole hair platinum blonde.
Really?
But since I'm cheap, it has to be a color that melts with my roots well. So I
Oh.
chose red the first time, and
That's
now I chose
smart.
platinum blonde. So if you notice, it's the roots are black.
Yeah. But it's so
pretty
dope.
beautiful. It looks great on you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and at Caltech, there's like the Diwali dances and stuff, which we did, and then the dance show, and then but we met at like an alumni
event.
a NOMI event, yeah, which is like a secret club
can't
that's
talk about
not secret, basically. But
So are you guys going to get in trouble for talking about this right now?
no,
What is NOMI? Am I allowed to ask about it?
so at Caltech, frats and sororities were like banned from campus, and this was a frat, I guess, that got turned into like a secret club, and it's just like some alumni that do some nice stuff for the undergrads.
I'm gonna pitch
nice.
it with more merit.
I don't
Which is
know.
that when I graduated, all student leaders were invited to be part of
Okay.
this club.
Okay, we had a similar type of secret elite club
Where did
in
you go to
college.
school?
I went to an engineering school called Stevens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
we're all engineers.
Yeah.
I switched to a business because fuck thermodynamics. I didn't want to do that shit.
You did environmental science.
I did.
And
So-
I did.
Where did this transition from environmental engineering to filmmaking happen?
You know, I would say that the jarasim, the germs, really came from my parents. We grew up in Nigeria and in Pakistan, and my parents were huge Bollywood buffs. And when I was a kid growing up, I remember this like rickety wooden closet full of Bollywood rip-off VHS tapes.
Yeah.
But
We had,
they
like,
were
a local
ripoffs?
Nigerian guy who would like because I mean there was
okay.
no distribution back in the day for Bollywood in Africa.
Yeah.
So he would
Especially not in
find-
Nigeria, I don't
not,
think.
yeah, not in
Yeah.
Nigeria. So his name was Laval, rest in peace. And he would bring these Bollywood like movies. And I was really young, and my parents, I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and my parents would pre-screen the films before showing it to their daughters to see, you know, if there's no risque scenes. And then I would be hiding under my parents' bed for 3 hours with my neck up watching these movies. And now that I think about it, when I write all these like personal statements for grants, and that's really when it goes back too, because when I would watch it again with my sisters, I had somehow memorized so many of the dialogues. And I'm like 4,
Did
5.
you know all the songs by heart and stuff too? Did you have certain favorites growing up?
What was your favorite movie, and what was your favorite song from that movie?
It's really hard.
Okay, maybe top 5. Is that really hard too? Did you have a favorite like Bollywood hero growing
Shah
up?
Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh
Of
Khan.
course.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
me
company's
too.
called Parveen Shah Productions. Parveen is Mama's name and Shah is for Shah Rukh Khan. It
Oh,
actually
Shah is for Shah
still
Rukh Khan?
It is crazy.
I was gonna ask you about that. I just
No,
assumed that was like
Shah is
another
for Shah Rukh Khan.
That's so funny.
My email is still IPBLSK. You can guess what that means. Since I was a child. I mean, obviously, I think like I wish he kind
Have
of
you
made
met
better
him?
choices. I have actually. It's
What
a
was that
crazy
like? What is it
story.
like meeting your hero?
You know, after Caltech, I went on the Watson, which is like a full ride for hippies, and I put India on the map.
It's not just.
Okay,
I'm going to pitch it with a
wait,
little bit more
all right.
merit.
So
it's
the
not
top-
just a full ride
okay.
for hippies. It's a really competitive scholarship
Okay,
for
it
people to
is-
follow their dreams.
It is a travel fellowship grant that took you around the world. It's called the Thomas J. Watson Fellowship.
And it's very competitive.
you
a
had
lot
to
of
apply to this?
You had to apply to it. You had to
Okay.
interview for it. You had to do all these things to get through it. Not that many people are given the opportunity.
So what
And she
inspired
got
you?
it.
Why did you apply to this?
So after, I guess, okay, so after
It's also kind of pushed at Caltech to apply to it.
well, I mean, yes. So Caltech is one of 50 schools in the nation that actually you have an opportunity to apply to the Watson, and they select 50 students or fellows every year from
One from each
entire
university?
US. No,
Okay.
No, it's just
there's no
Oh.
quota. 50 people, and then there's so many that apply and stuff. But essentially, when I went to Caltech, I came from Pakistan to Caltech. I just turned 17. I flew from Islamabad to Pasadena.
Okay, so you were born in the States, but your family ended up in Pakistan somehow.
Right.
And then
So my parents were both scientists in the early 70s. Both Pakistanis had not met each other. Dad flew from Karachi to Nigeria. Mama flew from Lahore to Nigeria. And they didn't know each other, but my mom was like drop dead gorgeous. And so the entire Pakistani community was trying to get my dad married to her.
were they the only two Pakistanis in Nigeria at that time?
No,
Like,
no,
where did
there
this
was a
happen?
big diaspora community. In the
Oh,
early
okay.
70s, there was a huge demand for educationists from South Asia. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of Desis.
Yeah.
in
That's when the
East and
influx.
West
That's when
Africa.
the influx into the Americas happened as well.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
East Africa was more because of Idi Amin and a lot of politics and stuff, but like West Africa was different. And then Mama and Daddy met there, got married.
In
spent
Nigeria?
The first 22 years of their life in Nigeria. So I was actually probably conceived in Nigeria, but born in the U.S. because my dad was trying to pursue a PhD at that point.
Okay.
Well, then he decided against settling here. And so we went back to Nigeria. And then I was raised there till I was like 7 or 8. Then we moved back to Pakistan. And then I was in Pakistan up until I applied to Caltech.
Where in
So you applied as an
Pakistan?
international student to Caltech.
I applied, well, I had a U.S. passport because I was born in the U.S.
She was an
But you-
American.
no, I know, but like applying from
But I applied from Pakistan.
other countries to Caltech is really fucking
It's
hard.
actually, she's right.
It's
Because
so
We
hard.
had no guidance counselor. When I look at students
So they
now,
treated you like a Pakistani international student when you were applying?
I mean, I guess in the terms of the application, because my application looks nothing like an American high school student, right? I mean,
Yeah.
here I feel like people 8th grade start learning the community service, the one instrument, the whatever.
Yeah,
they need
yeah.
to do.
yeah.
I didn't know any of that.
But
Was
the
it
people,
a
the
cul-
people who come from South Asia who come to Caltech also get into like IIT. It's like very competitive and very difficult to get in from
Right.
from a
Except in
different country.
Pakistan. So in India, at least, they have IIT, which
Yeah.
is actually an option. In Pakistan, the higher education, sure, there's a few schools that are really well known, but not in tech.
Yeah.
And I was like a physics nerd, and I wanted to do physics. And so I came to Pasadena when I just turned 17, landed at Caltech, and realized that I was good at science, but quickly realized it wasn't my passion.
You missed Bollywood.
I miss Bollywood. I don't know, I missed people. Like this idea of America in my head was like, what I saw in,
Movies.
what's the San Francisco family show?
Full House.
Full House,
yeah.
or like, Mr. Belvedere, or like some high school, like, with like lockers and like, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And Caltech is so, yes. And when I went to Caltech, there was no Desis. Like the grad
Really?
students, the grad students, there were Desis, but they were all from India and mostly South India. But there was no Desis in undergrad. Now but it's funny, the last 15 years, because it's all the Desi Americans.
Yeah. They so there's 900 undergrads at Caltech, 1,200 grad students, and like 300 faculty and staff. So it's like Hassan did a piece on it. Did you see that? He did a piece about how like there were so few black students, like African students at Caltech,
Yeah, there
and
were
he
two
was
when
like,
I was there.
That's what I'm saying.
San Minaj did a
Yeah,
thing on it?
his
Okay.
like one of his first episodes on the Patriot Act on Netflix, And he was like, there was like 14 in 2014, and I was like, back in my day, there were 7. There weren't that many in all of the 900, so it wasn't that diverse.
Even when you go now, you probably realize, oh my God, so many more Desis. And it's funny because it tells you a little bit about South Asian immigration patterns in the U.S.
Yeah.
Which is that people now have kids that are old enough to go to college.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting because I came in 2000. I'm dating myself, to school here. So I graduated in 2004, did my Watson, 2004, 2005, put India on the map because I wanted to meet Shah Rukh. And I was also doing a fellowship on body movement and spirituality.
Very cool.
And so I just found that, like, why is dance so taboo in Pakistani culture and then used for worship in, like,
Yeah, because the
Hinduism?
Sufis, like, they have all this, like, mystical
Right.
dancing as a part of their faith.
Right.
And it confuses me because, like, everyone I talk to from Pakistan, they're all fans or they somehow subscribe to Sufism, and yet they all come from households where, like, dancing is bad.
Right. I mean, there's a lot
So,
of double standards.
yeah,
and
for
confusion about
sure.
a lot of things. But
Yeah.
I mean, so the Watson was inspired by just this. Actually, my biggest passion more than Bollywood is dance.
We did a flash dance at one of the film festivals, right?
Oh, were we
Do you
not
remember?
together?
Yeah, I think
Probably.
we were.
She's a really good dancer. I was like, damn. I was like, in my time, it wasn't like that.
Well, Pallavi, you took years of dance, right?
Yeah. And then, like, at Caltech, the only dance that I did was for a while until, like, my junior, senior year was the, like, Diwali and Bollywood stuff.
Right, right. So when I went to USC for film school, USC has a big competitive Bollywood dance team.
Yeah.
And I was so upset the first year they didn't have it. And the second year, I was like, I have to get it. And I remember I was like, this is my only chance. And then I got in and we won California.
Hey.
That's so
Competitive.
cool. Congrats.
So anyway, so the Watson was because of the dance, was like, that was the theme. And I met Shah Rukh towards the end of my 6 months.
So the Shah Rukh meeting, describe from beginning to end. Where did this happen and how?
Did time slow down? Did
Yeah.
music play in the
Time
background?
didn't- Actually, music and time didn't slow down, but the 2 times in my life I've lost my appetite is when I met Shah Rukh Khan. Like,
So
I
you met him
forgot
twice?
to eat.
You met him twice.
I did, and they're
Okay.
both crazy stories.
Okay.
Oh,
All
tell,
right.
tell.
Please tell us
I
when you met
know,
Shah
it's
Rukh
gonna
Khan.
take time.
Just tell quick.
Well, I landed in Bombay, and then I traveled all over. Okay, so first of all, Caltech, my dorm, every possible Shah Rukh Khan picture you can find on the internet was printed, and it was like a wallpaper. And we had these lofts, so I would wake up to a poster of Shah Rukh Khan.
Right above the bed.
And my poor, like, roommate, Jackie Wilbur, was just like, she'd wake up and like, like, she would just freak out because she had Shah Rukh all over the room.
Did Jackie become a fan of Shah Rukh Khan?
No,
at
but
some
she
point?
knew. She
Okay.
knew about him. So then when I get my Watson, I'd never been to India at this point, and I wanted to go to India because I felt like I needed to learn about.
Did you have a hard time getting into India because of like your
No, because
Pakistani background?
because I had an American passport,
Okay.
and on paper, Dad was born Old Delhi, Mama's Ambala, so
Yeah,
like you know.
got it.
Now they have all these computerized forms where it's like if your grandparents chose to
Yeah.
migrate, you were kind of shut down. But
Yeah.
back then, it wasn't the case. So I went to every single Indian I knew who at that point were all techers who went to Caltech and like asked them if they knew people, you know, in India. And that was kind of my source and my contacts. Anyway, somebody I knew happened to have an aunt who emailed me and doesn't know anything about my obsession with Shah Rukh and says, oh my God, we live in Bandra and we're like 2 houses away from Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh, so they lived in a fancy neighborhood.
They lived in a fancy neighborhood, and I got a paying guest, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm jumping in my dorm, and Jackie's like, no way, you're going to meet Shah Rukh. And so I go to Pakistan. I mean, I go to India, and, you know, I'm obviously trying, and I'm asking everybody, and nobody's going to, like, introduce me to Shah Rukh Khan. And anyway, I go around the country. I'm doing my own thing with the whole, like, project.
So you're filming a project
I'm
at this
filming a
point.
documentary on why people dance.
Okay.
You know, and so it's like, and it's focusing on Kathak, Odissi, Bharatnatyam. You know, every time I'm interviewing Shamak, like Shamak Dawar, big choreographer, like all the choreographers I could think of. I go to stay in Nrityagram, that's a very, very well-known, like, dance institute in Bangalore. And at this point, I'm 21, I'm at the peak of my beauty, and Veer Zara just released.
You're not at the peak of your beauty.
This
Oh,
bitch has looked
stop
the
it.
same since I've known her
Oh,
or gotten hotter.
stop
Like
it.
I'm not
True.
even
That's
I'm not
not
even
true.
kidding. Like
21
I'm
when
sorry.
I met her when I was in
Yeah.
school, I was just like, she's so pretty.
I was never pretty in school.
When
I
I
just
met
think
you,
you had-
you were like, okay, to be fair, most techers aren't as pretty as when they leave. but I had met you after you
We've cleaned up.
graduated.
You would not recognize this. Zara.
Okay, honestly, I feel like brown women just age like fine wine. Like they just get better
I
over
think
time.
East Asian women, they age really
I
well.
think it's just like the Asian,
Yeah.
Asian, you know.
Anyway, I'll take the compliment. So anyway, all of this is happening, and then I come back to Bombay, and Veer Zara came out, and I had a huge crush on this Indian guy. So for those who don't know what Veer Zara is about a Pakistani woman who ends up in India.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
all the-
Zara is played by Preeti Zinta.
Preeti Zinta, and Veer
Veer
is of course Shah Rukh Khan.
Right.
So I'm obviously thinking I'm Zara, traveling all over India and getting all this like male attention, and then I come back to Bombay, and like I'm really heartbroken at this point. I'm about to leave. There's like 2 weeks
Because you're
left.
heartbroken because you
You
hadn't
haven't
met him.
met Shah Rukh?
No,
Oh,
because
what?
I was actually in love with somebody and things weren't going
In
well.
India?
In India. I'm not
Oh.
going to mention who it is. He's actually a well-known actor. So,
Let's spill some chai.
I'm
Who
gonna
is
tell
it?
Tim. I'm gonna
He's
tell her
well
husband.
knows
Her
everything.
husband. Oh,
Tim
really?
knows everything.
He's
Poor
a
guy.
sweetie.
There's a lot of heartbreak
Aw.
there too. So anyway, so here I am, and so somehow I was so enterprising. I still am. That's probably why I'm an indie filmmaker. I had figured out how to like meet Yash Chopra, and so I met
Nice.
all these like people. I
How
met
did
Yash
you
Chopra,
figure out?
Mahesh
Yash
Bhatt.
Chopra is like the
Jack-
Spielberg of
Yeah, but
Bollywood. Like, how
he's
did
very
you meet this
chill.
guy?
Like, you just basically email them and say, "Oh, I'm from the States and I'm doing this, blah blah blah," and he responded. Like, it was really amazing. And then I met like
He
Jackie
responded
Chan.
himself, or his camp responded?
No, he responded because see, in India and Pakistan, you just get people's numbers, so you text them.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
people, that's what.
So
you
they
do.
don't have
They
like
don't do-
people managing.
I mean,
their-
not as much back then.
Okay.
So
okay.
anyway, something random happened. I was leaving, and I get a text from Yashji saying,
Yashji, you guys are on like
"No,
very
we were.
casual
we
terms
were.
now. Okay.
We were. It's kind of sad actually because the story's gonna end in a sudden. So Yashji, I was like, oh, he's like, oh yeah, you wanted to come see me. I'm free on this day, and it was a mistake. I never had texted him this time around. I'd met him when I'd come in to India, so I'm about to leave, and I'm like, and I'm just kind of like, dude, Yash Chopra wants to see you. Like, figure out
Yeah.
who's in and just come and, see him. And so I go in and I take a Chatrali cap, which is like a Pathan cap from Pakistan. It's like and I was like, fine, I'll just
Is it
say.
like one of those rickshaws? Is that what I'm thinking of? What am I
Nay, a
thinking of?
Chatrali cap is kind of like, sadly, it's like what you'll see on Fox News, Taliban's wearing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
But
yeah.
it's a Pathani cap. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful cap. And so I took it with me, and I was like, I just made a bahana, like an excuse. Oh, Yashji, I brought this for you. And I'm there, and like and I just start crying. I was like in such a weird depressed. And he's like, oh, I can't see tears in a pretty girl's eyes. What can I do for you? And it was like, ding. I was like, actually, there is something you can do for me. Can you arrange a meeting with Shah Rukh Khan?
Oh my God.
And he looks at me like, Abhi nahi mili. As in, like, you haven't met him? And I don't know what he thought, like I was some, like, rich, connected woman. I was like, nahi, I haven't met him yet. And so he, like, picks up and he's like, Subhash, like, Shah Rukh's bodyguard, blah, 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 blah. She's coming and this woman's going to come. And, like, the next day, he arranges this meeting with
Oh
Shah
my
Rukh Khan.
goodness.
And I'm leaving and I'm freaking out. And so the next day, at this point, I was not living 2 stories for him because I traveled all over India and I was living really far away. So I like went down to Bandra early morning, train, had my video camera, everything with me.
You took the train to Bandra.
Yeah, I took
Okay.
2nd class train all over India. I was like, I was in the rush when 5 p.m. rush when people would take their jewelry off because people are like jumping into the train. Like I wanted to just do everything like the masses.
Like real India. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I've traveled more India than like I've traveled Pakistan. But anyway, so I'm in Bandra. I'm seated since 9 a.m. Esme was my host, and Esme's like really sweet. And she's known that I've been wanting to meet Shah Rukh for the 6 months I've been touring in India. Everybody knows. That day, Amrish Puri passes away. Amrish Puri is a really famous Indian actor, and Shah Rukh's worked with him. And so everyone's going to the funeral. I'm like, well, no one's going to care about this meeting I have with Shah Rukh. And of course, Shah Rukh Khan's going to go to the funeral. But I figure out my way, and I call Yashi, and I'm like, do you think I should go? Do you think it's appropriate? And he's like, no, beta, the show must go on. Like, I don't know if you know, but this is Raj Kapoor's famous line. So, like, as a Bollywood-obsessed person, I'm like, oh. So I walk in, and, like, Mannat is Shah Rukh Khan's residence, and there's hundreds of people always sitting in front on walls, like, waiting for a peek. And I literally walk
So you went to his
into
house. The
door.
meeting was at his house?
It was in Mannat. I freaking walk into the door. I walk into the yard, and Aryan is like a little boy playing around with a laser. Gauri is like saying goodbye to Neelam.
Oh my God.
And Shah Rukh Khan's coming down in his tracksuit, like in his
In his
lawn to
track-
have chai.
He's still wearing a tracksuit.
He's wearing a tracksuit to have chai, and I'm like, what the fuck's happening here? And he, like, the poor guy, this entire time he was just trying to figure out who I was. He thought I was a Pakistani journalist, like, and I just kept like, it's so funny. I even have a video of like, I was so crazy.
Did you get this on film? Was it part
I
of the
got,
documentary or
I
anything?
did. No, I didn't. I didn't put it. It's a private video, but I basically was like, Shah Rukh, tomorrow, if I want to jump off a building, if I'm really depressed with life, what would you say to me to keep
Oh
me
my
up?
God.
I
Oh my
was
God.
so embarrassing.
You put him into the story of your heartbreak.
and he was just like so funny. But you know, he said something so important. He said, Iram, I would say never believe in the myth people create for you.
Hey, that's
Wow.
dope.
Always stay grounded. And then like I got
That
a
is so
picture with
profound.
him. I know, I got a picture with him. I got like, and he was so sweet. He was like, I'm like, oh, and then like, since you're in video, will you ever work with me? He's like, yeah, inshallah. And I'm like, oh, please, if I can afford you. I was so rude. And like, I just was so
I mean, you were
over the
21
moon.
at the time, so
Yeah.
you get a pass. It's
No,
fine.
but come on. Like, anyway, but it was amazing. And then like, I get a picture with him, and then I have an autograph, and then I have this video. And then I asked him for a hug. And then as I hugged him, I was like, this is Shah Rukh. It was just like, soaked the moment.
Was,
And I
was
just-
his wife there?
and I
Was
just-
Neelam there? Like, no? She's like, I'm over
Glory
this.
was inside.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But anyway, I walk out of the room. I walk out of Manna just like I walked in, and there's meanwhile all these hundreds of people dying to meet this guy, and I have all of this stuff from him.
Oh.
And I get back into my second class train back to like Malad West, and I'm like flipping through my phone and like, or my camera back then, like the digital. I'm like seeing my picture with Shah Rukh Khan, and I'm like, if I actually just announce this in this like dabba full of people, they're gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think just the idea of how quickly I love playing, in order to stay grounded and not to believe the myth, like he's saying, I absolutely love constantly shifting myself from like privilege and
Yeah.
lack of privilege because it's so good. It's so refreshing, you know?
It makes
be
you
able to
stay
float.
connected to humanity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that moment. So that was the first time I met him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And he was the
probably don't have
he was
time
the
for the second
nicest
time.
guy.
He was chill. He was
Wow.
awesome.
That's so dope.
He was awesome.
Did I ever tell you my uncles were Bollywood producers at one point?
You're such a bitch.
I know,
Thanks
but they
for being
were
helpful.
they were not. They're out now.
They're out of Bollywood now?
Yeah, immediately. They did Raja and Rangila,
Those are huge fans.
and then they made a lot of mistakes after that. But they know
Rangila's one of my favorites.
they're
speaking of-
they know like a lot of South Indian, like Rajnikant that's come to my cousin's wedding. He like
Oh my
flew in on a
God, that's
helicopter.
crazy.
But you can't. I
So
don't.
you could have had a South Indian career.
No, I do not. First of all, my dad won't teach me Tamil. And second of all, I like
Why
my
won't
life
your
here.
dad teach you Tamil?
My dad, when I was a kid, was like, I would like try to like learn Tamil from like my mom because she was around more. She was just a stay at home, and she would teach me these words, and then I'd go say it to my dad, and he was like, "That pronunciation is terrible," and I'm like, "Mom taught it to me."
But do
But
both your
she-
parents speak Tamil?
Yeah, but she's not. She's Sindhi, but she
Oh,
lived in Chennai, but she like learned Tamil by just like existing around.
Right.
Like she didn't
Right.
take it formally or anything. But so then I'd be like, Dad, why don't you teach me? And he's like, to survive in this world, you just need to know Chinese or Spanish. And then like,
Did
I
you
took
learn
Span-
Chinese and Spanish?
I took Spanish in high school, and then when my family went on a trip to Panama, I used it, but I didn't conjugate shit.
I don't
Like,
know,
I ju-
man. Like I have to say, I'm so grateful to my parents to having moved back to Pakistan
yeah.
because having to learning how to read and write Urdu. You know, my first feature, I actually, when I went to Pakistan, I typed the script in Urdu from English.
That is
myself,
so cool.
which I could never have done had I not done high school.
Was
yeah,
it a culture shock for you when you moved? So you were in, Nigeria,
And then went to Pakistan.
and then went to Pakistan. What was that like?
You know, I was really young, so it wasn't.
Oh, so you
that,
didn't
I mean, I
really
was like
notice.
7 or 8, so
Okay.
it wasn't that big of a deal. It was kind of interesting. Like suddenly, like everybody looked like you, because I mean, in Nigeria,
Yeah.
everybody was playing with my hair in the assembly ground and stuff. But now I'm like in Pakistan, and you know, Pakistani women were mean.
Oh, they're
Pakistani
so
girls
mean.
Are so mean.
They're
in
so
school.
mean.
So we were kind of these like simple, you know, Bilal sisters, and then we had to learn all the politics of being Desi.
There's so much politics, like at a very young age.
Yeah, I don't think I've still learned it. I can't give a you know, I'm not part of the sisterhood, frankly. I mean, you guys are cool, but like, I'm just not part of the sisterhood. I have more
There
guy
isn't
friends.
a sisterhood amongst Pakistani women. There isn't a sisterhood. I feel like you're either light skinned or you're not.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
And I'm
honestly.
a beautiful bronze, so I don't fit.
Yeah, same here.
So.
Same here.
What are you talking about? You're like
Oh,
gorge,
no.
Pakistani
Thank you,
gorge.
thank you. But there is like there's some sort of like a fair and lovely like spectrum,
Yeah.
especially in Pakistan.
Right. But I think
You
it's
know?
also just the fact that like I've always I don't know, I'm not very girly. I've
But
always
see,
been a
that's
tomboy.
that's the thing that I embraced in college, and I feel like Caltech was insidious with this because there were so many men there, and you were like, I just want to be a part of the boys' club, like I just want to be in with the boys. And then afterwards, I was like, oh, I was kind of like I kind of absorbed misogyny
Yeah.
from them.
Absolutely.
And then afterwards, like I would say things like, I don't do girly shit, like I don't like this or
Right,
whatever,
right,
and
right.
that inherently is misogynistic.
You're
So then-
absolutely right. What I mean, yes, point taken.
yeah.
What I mean is, in general, what a lot of my female friends in Pakistan
Yeah.
enjoy, I don't happen to have the same interests.
That I have that with my cousins in India too. They like want to go shopping and stuff,
I
and I
can't
just
do that.
can't handle
I
it.
can't do that. I don't want to talk about boys. I don't want to like.
It is stressful
Go
to go shopping in
shopping.
Pakistan.
It's so stressful.
It is. It's
Yeah.
just
There's
a
like
lot
pressure.
And they're throwing fabric at you, and,
And
then
they
they're
d-
trying it on in front of you, like just the men.
and they do it all day,
Yeah.
and like I'm like I can't. I like go insane with
Yeah.
it.
And then the whole
I
like
think you know what you're right. I
Yeah.
think it's just being a nerdy girl
Yes,
and
it's
being
hard
a
to
math
find.
and science girl. Like maybe that was what the misfit was, but I don't know. I don't know.
And it also depends. Like on my mom's side of the family, they're more into like shopping and stuff. My dad's side of the family is like studious. So like it really depends on like where you are and what's accepted. But there's like
You know, I was actually going to say something to you that I feel that what I react to against sometimes that the Desi sisterhood is perhaps a construct of the patriarchy, which is this pressure that women have to be pretty and dress up and
Yeah.
be something else and not their original intellectual self.
yeah,
That's what I rebel against. So it's not really, and I think that's what I always was against.
yeah.
But I agree with you that Caltech being like, I don't know, 1:3 men or 1 what it was. Yes, we were talking about it with like some of my classmates who just visited last week. There's like everybody would be like a Me Too. All those boys in Page House would be.
That's like
of
the
what house? All the boys
It's a
of what
house.
house?
That's like so they're okay. So the way Caltech works is there are 8 different houses, not dorms, but everybody goes into a house because there's no like frat system, and
Right.
so they all develop their own personalities. But it's like Harry Potter housing because it was modeled after British schools.
Yeah,
Okay.
think
Um,
Slytherin. is
No,
Paige.
that's not. No comment. But
Okay.
but Paige is more known to be like the fratty drinking
It's
house.
the bros.
The
It's
bros
super-
up,
okay,
but
yeah.
it's
The
still,
dude bros.
but it's still like bros of nerds. Like you leave there, you go to
Yeah.
like normal people, and you're like, oh no, you were still fucking nerds.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
they're
yeah, they
like
were nerds.
they're
But
like
everybody-
the elitist bros. I know what you're talking
But everybody
about.
got
Nerd
their like
bros-
fit.
Yeah.
I think nerd bros are more dangerous because
They
they're
are.
kind of extreme because they haven't
Yeah.
had the chance to be these bros. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like I've always been a feminist since I was a child, and I think that part of
Yeah.
what I reacted with the girly girls is like I'm just kind of like, come on, be.
You don't feel accepted.
I don't feel accepted. And I'm just like, can we talk about something like more real? Like, why do we have to talk about boys? Why do we have to talk about how pretty you look? Let's talk about like your talents.
And at Caltech, when we were there, like, and the same is true, like in research labs and stuff. Like, if you get punished for dressing up, like it's the opposite of what society is. Like, people will make fun of you as a woman if you wear makeup because they're like, "Oh, you had time to do that today. You weren't working."
Right, so we weren't trying to be boys because at Caltech, exactly, because at
Yeah.
Caltech, for me, it was never about like being overtly dressed up, but it was always like I would wear shalwar kameez at Caltech.
Yeah, and you say at the time you were one of very few Desis.
I was very a few daisies, and I always, I
So
think
did
I
you
always
get a lot of like stares, or did people
Yeah.
just like accept it at some point? Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, she's the girl that wears ethnic clothes.
Right. I mean, I think what happened with me, and I just actually posted something on Facebook about this, is I have a knack for accents. And to be honest, had I had a thick Desi accent when I landed, it would have made my life really easy. But having grown up watching American television, for whatever reason, we didn't go to an American school. We went to an international school, but it wasn't American. We learned more British sort of accent.
Right.
But I always sounded very American. So people were confused. They were like, she's so weird. Because like I was a fob, but with an American accent.
They didn't know where to place you.
Exactly. And that actually really backfired.
So that made you more of an outcast.
I was completely. It was very difficult.
So
It
you
was
were you
extremely-
were you what group were you accepted by at Caltech?
It was very difficult. Actually, not much. I was hazed a lot, bullied a lot, and I almost wanted to transfer out. But then Jackie Wilbur, my
Your
roommate,
roommate,
she was
yay.
lovely, and she really kind of like took me under her wing, and you know, it was as sad as it sounds. Like, I mean, I think like when white people take you under your wing, other white people can't leave you alone.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
It was
That
pretty
is-
racist and sexist.
It is
Paige
sad,
was.
but true. Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
was.
So you were in Page?
I was in Page.
Yeah.
And then because I was being hazed so much, I said, basically, fuck you guys. And I stayed there all 4 years so that I could be like somebody to look after the youngins who were coming and being
Oh,
hazed.
so you tried to give back.
I did.
to-
I did. And
the
I
younger
think that
ones.
actually all of that made me stronger. But it was very difficult when it was happening because I had just turned 17. I was the youngest of my family and left. I'd come half across the world. I had nobody here.
How did your parents feel about just sending you across the globe on your own?
You know, my nana, my maternal grandfather, had 6 daughters and 1 son. And in the 70s, all the women had masters.
That's great.
So education is a big thing
Yeah.
on my mother's
It
side.
sounds like you come from a very progressive thinking.
progressive
family.
thinking in terms of, yes, certain,
In
at
terms
least
of
my
education.
parents, yes.
Yeah.
And so he would always say to Mama that, you know, I can't provide you everything, but I can give you education. And I think my parents had that same value because I mean,
Yeah.
we're not upper class Pakistanis at all. We're very middle class, you know. My nana, because my parents left everything in migration, my grandparents. So my dada had a mechanic workshop in Karachi, and my nana was a postmaster,
Right.
and then my parents were teachers. So like they're very self-made, you know. They really made big leaps for us, and now the fact that I can. So what I was going to tell you about Yashji was my first feature, Josh. It world premiered in Bombay, so I went back to Bombay after that.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah, I
became,
saw that. It was
because
screened.
Watson was before I became a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was screened at the 14th Mumbai Film Festival.
It was in Mami. It was the first Pakistani film, I think, in years, or definitely had. And Yashji passed away the day of my premiere.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
He was sick with dengue, and I was gonna go see him.
Yeah.
And I'd lined up so many stars to come watch my movie because I was like, oh, I'm like again texting like Faranach, the Shabana's, everybody like, oh, it's my film.
These are all contacts you made during your
Well,
fellowship
I had a
trip out
PR.
there.
No, I had a PR company hired, and then like
Oh,
as I
okay.
said, like numbers are easy to come by even now.
Yeah.
I have Shah Rukh Khan's number. I can give it to you after we cut. He responds on his birthday. So yeah, and Yashji passed. I had all these stars lined up, and obviously Yashji passed away. Obviously, and not only obviously did I lose the whole audience, but I wanted to go, but I couldn't because.
Because of your
But it kind
screening,
of came weirdly full circle. And on my Bombay premiere, my dad chooses to tell me that my dada ran away from home when he was 16 to be an actor when they were in India.
Wow.
And I was like, this was kind of important. You didn't think you should share
That's
this with me when I
crazy.
decided to be a filmmaker?
So
it
is
was very
there
emotional.
are there any films with him in it or
No, he didn't succeed. He
Okay.
struggled. He
Okay.
struggled for like, I don't know, 10 months and left. But the fact is that the gene. So my
Yeah, it's
parents
there.
really got us at least in a position where I feel like, you know, I had to go to Caltech as a safety net, but I'm able to at least pursue my dreams, you know?
yeah, that's great.
That's amazing. So that was your first film, right, Josh?
Yes.
And then you did Kalimbaz, right? And then
well, no, I did the PhD movie. That
Oh,
was my second
yeah.
feature.
I forgot about that. There's this cartoon web comic, and it's about PhD students, and it got like really big.
Yeah.
And where did the creator go?
He went to Stanford.
He went to Stanford, yeah. And it's like amongst nerds, it's like huge because
It's like Big Bang Theory.
yeah,
Oh,
but it's like
okay.
web comic style. And so they made a PhD movie, and like all my friends were in it
Yeah.
at Caltech, and it like premiered there and everything. And then I went and did my master's at Carnegie Mellon, and my friends were like, from there, were like, "Have you heard about this PhD thing?" And I was like, "Those are all my." That my RA was like one of the main
That's so
characters
funny.
in it.
That's so funny.
But then I was hired to do the sequel.
yeah.
okay.
And turns out that the guy who created the webcomics actually taught me a mechanical engineering course my senior year. And he didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. And 10 years later, I was through somebody, people asked me, and I was like, sure, I'm in between films, I'll do it. So that was my second feature. Kalambaz is a screenwriting lab I started for Pakistan.
Mhm.
So Kalambaz in Urdu means fighting with a pen.
Oh.
And when I did Josh, there wasn't much infrastructure, and I really wanted to give back. And so I formed Kalambaz, mashallah, we're in year 5. My vision was 10 years, 50 writers, which even if half of them drop out, I think 25 people who know script structure and screenplay structure is a big impact for the Pakistani industry because it's small.
So is this happening in Pakistan
It is happening
right
in
now?
Pakistan.
Okay,
It's only
where-
for Pakistanis. We're
where
in
in
the fifth cycle.
Pakistan?
So it's a remote lab. So we
Okay.
have mentors from Bollywood, Lollywood, Hollywood, Nollywood.
Very cool.
And they just sign in because a lot of writing happens. Like you get notes on email anyway. So I'm trying to get them A, disciplined, B, I wanted to cut the costs and increase access. So they were able to, otherwise you're just raising money to get all these people to come to Pakistan, and then there's some political stuff that happens, and then the trip gets canceled, and it's just like, I just wanted something like fast and that would operate. And it's been great, and I'm hoping to expand to South Asia this year.
That is so cool.
So that's that. And then the other thing I did is I formed the Oscar committee for Pakistan, the foreign language
Okay.
Oscar committee. So now they're both the same year. So this is year 5 where we actually have a committee, so we actually can submit a film from Pakistan to the Oscars for best foreign language consideration.
That's so cool.
That's
So
so
how would
amazing.
you? So you're kind of in tune with Bollywood and Lollywood. How would you compare where Lollywood is?
So Lollywood is its old term for Pakistani cinema. It's really like now they just call it Pakistani cinema. L is for Lahore. Pakistani cinema is in a very interesting phase in the sense that there's obviously a lot of opportunity, but I think that the politics between India and Pakistan is hurting Pakistani cinema because we don't have enough supply to satiate the demand of the Pakistani audiences who have, much like myself and probably yourself, have grown up on Bollywood. And frankly, Bollywood's really good now.
Yeah.
And as the independent scene is so good that they are making amazing films, and they have had 100 years of uninterrupted cinema. We've had all these dictators that have shut down cinema. So if we ban Bollywood films in Pakistani theaters, we don't have enough material to sustain the theaters.
Yeah, the Pakistani dramas do really well.
They do. But
in
then the theaters
Pakistan.
die, and then we, the small creators who are trying to struggle and make our movies,
Yeah.
don't have a place to show them.
Yeah.
So because of the politics, I don't know why the first thing to cut is the films. I don't understand.
A lot
Wait,
of
so they-
people, because I think it's like the tie-in with the religion and the culture, right? Like I grew up not allowed to go to the movie theater.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because my dad was like, "Yeah, you don't need to go to the movie theater. If you want to watch a movie, you could watch it at home." Or
Yeah.
it's very much like I don't know. It's like in their psyche, like any form of entertainment that requires leaving the house is
Yeah.
not safe,
Yeah.
or it's not ladylike, or it's not.
Yeah.
It's not good for your soul, or
But these are
whatever.
symptoms of post-Ziaul Haq Pakistan. So
Yeah.
basically, after
Yeah.
partition, Pakistan was pretty liberal, and in the 80s, military dictator came in and made music, art, culture, everything is un-Islamic.
Yeah.
And so that was the break. Cinemas were shut down and stuff. And then also the 1971 war with Bangladesh was terrible because we lost a lot of artists through Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So if you look at movies in Pakistan right after 1947 and partition, they're pretty amazing and they're comparable. And then they just get worse and worse and worse.
So you're talking about banning Bollywood movies? Has that happened? Or is
Yeah,
that-
They've
we
done
grew
that,
up. We
yeah.
grew up with no Bollywood films in theaters. So
Yeah,
that's
when
why we
was-
would have
was that-
DVDs.
was
They
that
just-
banned in the 80s or the 70s, like you were saying?
I mean, so
I want to say the 80s.
80s,
at some point.
90s, it was banned. It was restarted when President Musharraf, another dictator, ironically came in.
Yeah.
But they were restarted. Oh, actually, recently, no. They were restarted by actually a distributor. The guy who distributed my film, Josh, he's got amazing foresight. His name is Nadeem Manviwala. And he opened multiplexes. So there's no more single screens in the country because cinema has evolved and you don't have a Dilip Kumar star where people are lining up around the block. You need to have smaller screens so people can watch multiple things. When they had multiplexes, they needed more content. So he was like, we need to open up Bollywood. And then people really just started watching Bollywood last 6-7 years in theaters.
Wow.
But India still doesn't release Pakistani films because they don't need to.
Yeah. Okay, so
So that's where the politics comes in.
do they ban it, or is it they just
It's pretty much
refuse?
banned. I mean, at this point, it's banned.
Okay.
I mean, even Pakistani artists and Pakistani singers are banned in India now.
Really?
Yeah, ever since the Pulwama attack and ever since 2008 bombings, things have been kind of rickety. The Mumbai
Yeah.
Taj bombing. So anyway, it's just sad that artists are brought into this
Yeah.
sort of nationalistic wars. But anyway, so that's a long-winded answer. Of,
How has religion and spirituality influenced your work?
So the current film that I'm just about to finish, it's called I'll Meet You There. And it's about a Muslim cop
Is it also like has Pakistani ties?
Yeah, it's a Pakistani American. Farhan Tahir is in it, and Muhammad
Okay.
Kavi Khan, who's a legendary actor, brought him from Pakistan.
Is this the movie you were trying to cast when you came to our show?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was trying to cast that.
Yeah,
no,
you were
no, I think
talking
it was already cast.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, I'd already shot actually when I came to
Oh,
the show.
okay.
But I think that anyway. So this was it's about a middle-aged Muslim cop who's a single father to a ballerina, and it's about what happens 10 minutes into the film when the estranged Dada, the grandfather, shows up unannounced from Pakistan, and the cop is asked by his boss to go undercover in a mosque, and he uses his dad to enter the mosque. So it's a multi-generational family drama that talks about Islam and dance. So the Watson Fellow in dance is coming back into this.
Nice.
And the conversations about why Kathak or dance or whatever is not okay. And it's about immigration. It's about being Muslim American, and it's just about being a family.
So, but are you personally religious, or you said you were spiritual?
I'm spiritual. I mean, I raised Muslim. Definitely still pray, still fast, still give charity. It's a very
Happy belated Eid.
yeah,
to
Eid
you.
Mubarak.
Eid
Yeah, but
Mubarak.
it's yes. I would say I am. It's kind of a very personal journey. Like I consider myself day in day to become more and more spiritual. I'm definitely more attracted to Sufism. How does spirituality affect my work? I think just being.
Do you find yourself praying for prosperity and for like success of your movies and your projects?
I mean, yeah, I will meditate.
Okay.
I'll pray. I even used to go when I was at Caltech because I felt like there wasn't a mosque I could find here that I really felt community, and I would go with Jackie and her Christian friends to like a church and like go pray there. So I'm kind of very fluid in terms of like very accepting.
Right. Like you don't
I know,
subscribe to a
relig-
particular house
yeah,
of worship.
I don't believe. No, I do, but I don't believe that like my ideology is better than yours. That type of stuff. Like I feel like I'm very much a coexisting sort of person.
I think that's more of like a cultural influence where like everybody kind of has a little bit of xenophobia
Yeah.
and they think that like they're the chosen ones and stuff. Like
Right.
I feel like a lot of people in Pakistan, a lot of people just feel that way in general about Islam.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, so like in terms of spirituality, I would say that it influences my work in the sense that I am. I don't know. I try to be very honest with the stories I write. Like I don't care to tell stories just so that they can make money.
Yeah.
For example, right? I guess in terms of the integrity of work, you can say I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
That's just what drives me. I think emotional truth drives me, and I feel like that's what spirituality is about. It's about emotional truth.
Yeah. So Josh was your baby, right? That was like your first big.
Actually, I'll Meet You There is my baby.
Oh, really?
That's the
Okay,
first film I wrote.
I was gonna ask, like, has it gotten less precious over time, or like, is it just the process?
So
that's
I'll
less
Meet You
precious?
There is my baby because my sister who taught me how to dance, those dances we would do in Nigeria for my parents to Bollywood music, she now thinks that music and dance are not, they're not okay, that they're sinful.
Oh, really?
So
she's moved towards the
she's
other
just
side.
more conservative.
How
yeah.
older? How much
She's
older?
my oldest sister, 6 years.
And how many siblings do you have?
I'm the youngest of 3.
Okay.
So there's one 6 years older than me, another 4. So I mean, and we respect each other's views, but I think that this film, in some ways, was me trying to find a way to talk to her.
Through
And so some of the characters talk about it. So it's very personal, and I started writing it in film school 10 years ago. But it was very personal, and so I decided to make Josh first. I was working on a documentary in Benazir Bhutto.
What is Benazir Bhutto like in person?
She'd passed away when.
Oh,
I
she'd
was
already
working.
passed
She'd
away when you decided to do it?
2007, yeah.
Okay.
I was working with Amy Berg, an Oscar-nominated director, and I was in her research team, and quickly became like a right-hand person in that doc. That's how I got into editing.
Yeah.
And during that time, I met this. I heard an interview of this woman called Parveen Saeed who ran food kitchens in Karachi, and she would just look at the camera and say, "I'm not asking you for money. I'm asking you for a fistful of flour from like your pantry. Can you give me that?" I was like, "How do you say no to that, right?"
Yeah.
She's like, "That's all I want." And I was like, dude, this woman. So the next time I was in Karachi, I was like, I have to see her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And there was so much going on. And like, you know, like a precursor to the Arab Spring. Pakistan had like a Desi Spring, the youth. And I kind of made a concoction of all of that. And I wanted to do the Josh.
Mm-hmm.
So I just knew I wanted to do my first film in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And that's why that happened. And I wonder if that was a mistake now, because now when I'm trying to like reach out to representation in Hollywood, it's like, oh, this is my second feature as a writer director, and then they're like, oh well, what happened to the first? You know, they immediately think like you're old news, but
Yeah.
but you've been spending your time building like a career in
Ugh,
a different country.
That's so frustrating that
It
it,
is.
it doesn't translate over.
Nothing
or
translates.
It's
That's
just
like
so-
when New
it's very
York
frustrating.
comics come to LA and they're like, I got to start all over to get stage time.
I feel like New York comics. No, I mean that's comedy is a whole nother game.
And-
So I did want to use your research chops because I also come from a Lollywood family.
Oh,
But-
okay.
Yeah, but my grandfather got into a very bad accident after he directed like 20, 30 movies. Got into a very bad accident in the 70s that caused some brain damage, so he was never the same again. Like he was fine, but it's like they lost everything. And also he became very religious and conservative after that, so he didn't want to continue pursuing it.
Interesting. Yeah.
But his father, his stage name was something Kumar. No one talks about it because it's like this hidden part of the past that nobody talks about because it was like, you know, against Islam. He had like a second wife to like live his Bollywood career and stuff.
Oh wow.
So that side of that family is like they've maintained that life.
How exciting.
And
So much material for you.
yeah, but like I have no idea, and every time I ask questions, I get shut down because you know most people have.
So what was your
passed away.
grandfather's name?
Hafiz.
Hafiz
so I
Ali.
think, yeah, Hafiz Ali, Hafiz Productions.
Huh.
So there's
and
some
Lahore?
in Lahore, yeah, and there's actually movies with like my uncles are in it as like the little kids, or they were like child actors and
Oh,
stuff.
that's crazy.
And then after this accident, like no one did any of it again. Like some of my uncles who were more on the younger side tried to pursue it after, but there was just too many like obstacles up, and I think they still had the
That's
psyche that like
crazy. They
this
think
would
that
not
the
be
accident
accepted.
happened because they were doing sinful things.
I think they think that.
Yeah.
They think it's like karma or they were cursed or whatever.
Yeah.
The family swears that there's some curse that was put upon them.
It's actually going to be really interesting because
Yeah.
just to say the whole idea of like talking to people who feel that way, that my sister will be visiting LA next month, and I think that I'm going to take her once the film is color mixed. Like I'm going to take her for the screening.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be really interesting.
So you guys get along. Other than that, you're like able to communicate about
Oh
other
yeah,
things.
yeah.
But it's just like
Does
does
she
it
we
get-
love
does
each
it-
other. I just think like religiously we have very different approaches to religion.
Does it get-
and with time, we were very similar people. With time, I've gone to one spectrum and she's gone to another. So
Does it get tense when you bring up your career? And like,
no, but it does get tense when I bring up Faith.
Does she have kids?
She has 3 kids who I absolutely love, and actually the twins' birthdays today.
oh, happy birthday!
Thank you.
This will come out later, but yeah, okay.
So
What
does
about-
she ever feel? I'm sorry. Does she ever feel like you may be influencing the kids?
I don't know. She's very chill.
Well, that's
It's kind of
good.
interesting.
That's
I mean,
good.
no. I mean, I sometimes do wonder. I'm like, oh my God, but I don't know. So far, so good.
What about your middle sister?
She's chill. I mean, she and I are very much similar in our belief system, I guess. But I actually am more similar as a person to my older sister.
Interesting.
So it's interesting. Because the middle one and I used to fight a lot. We have a love-hate relationship for a year and 10 months apart.
Oh, so you're close in age. That's
Super close in age, so we're like the
that's
little ones,
normal.
Yeah.
I think that's normal.
Yeah, and your parents are like you seems like you are a very like family oriented person,
I am.
and you're connected. Like you did your wedding in Pakistan, right?
And yeah, in Pakistan and in the U.S. in
What was
Pasadena.
that like for your husband?
White boy.
What was that like?
He's
It's
a
so funny.
sweetheart.
He doesn't remember anything.
He doesn't remember his
He was
wedding
like
in Pakistan?
so numb. I was like, I did this whole entry on a dolly, and the lights were dimmed and blah blah. I said, babe, I don't remember. I was like, what do you mean you don't remember? Like, I did all this stuff for you.
What?
He was like,
How
it was
long-
really overstimulated. There was too much going on. There was like toll, and there was like too many colors, and people were stuffing
Like a
mithai in my
baby.
face. He was just so funny.
So what was his experience? Does he remember any of his experience
No, he
in
does.
Pakistan?
He does. He said
Okay.
he loved it because he was like, I just had to show up and not do anything. Because like a lot of his
Men.
family couldn't. I know
Yeah.
a lot of his family couldn't come,
Yeah.
and so we did a reception
Did
here
he
for
have
them.
guests on his side?
Yeah,
that
I mean, we
came?
had a lot of college friends who
Got it,
showed up. Not
got
a
it.
lot, a few. It was also like in December in Pakistan. The tickets were like $2,500.
Oh yeah,
round trip.
Pakistan in December.
And then the
is
moment
really
everybody
hard.
it was like, oh, you're doing a Pasadena reception, we'll just go there.
Yeah.
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 And so he loved
So
it.
he's a friend from college?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a techer.
Oh.
He's a techer.
That's so cool.
So they
He's a
both like
techer.
I met them both. Like they both. I think I actually met you when we were talking about the Watson Fellowship. But then later at like all these events, it was always Iram and Tim because they
Okay.
both came to all the alumni.
We're
things.
called Timrum in the
Timrum.
Caltech.
Timrum.
Really?
That's so cute. So wait,
Were you same year?
No.
Okay.
You
I
were
was a
heartbroken
cradle
over
robber.
someone else, right, when you were traveling around India, right?
And then you came back and was he a freshman and you were a senior?
Am I not allowed to know the story?
Yeah, it was. Tell me, was
I
it a
mean, the
pre-frosh?
timeline was not that like this started and that stopped. There was a little
Okay.
bit of overlap.
Oh,
I was
Oh,
naughty.
Okay.
I was naughty.
But it was like you were a senior, he was a freshman.
I was a junior. He was a frosh.
Okay, that's not bad.
I mean, he's actually technically just 8 months younger than me.
Oh,
I
okay.
skipped
Oh,
a
because
few
you were
grades.
17. Right.
You're just really smart. We
Yeah,
get it.
that's
We
what we
get
say to each other. Yeah.
That's good.
But he's from Lubbock, Texas.
I was born there.
Yes, that's the other
That's the
conversation
other-
we had.
yeah.
it. So how? All right. This
She's
is
like,
my mind is exploding. How does a guy? Okay, so I know you guys met in college, but he's from Lubbock, Texas.
There are a lot of techers from
Different-
Lubbock, Texas.
Different culture altogether. You
Drives
are
a
this-
pickup truck,
drives a
listens
pickup
to
truck,
country music.
and you are woke as hell, and you
Yeah.
have this international upbringing.
But he's like a sweetheart.
Wearing shalwar kameez to class, you know, like how does this happen?
You know, I think by the time he came around, I cleaned up a lot.
You clean up a lot.
You know, as you, like from freshman, like I had braces, so I didn't have a gap in my teeth. I knew how to dress up better. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Like, Tim is amazing. Actually, we have this conversation sometimes, and I say, you know, I think it was harder for you coming from Lubbock, Texas to get to Caltech than it was for me from Islamabad, Pakistan. Because I came from a family that really valued education. Islamabad is hella educated because it's
Islamabad
diplomats.
is the
And
only
Asians
city
are
in Pakistan I will
obsessed.
visit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Asians are obsessed with education.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he came from a family where he's the first from his mom's side who went to college.
Mhm.
You know, and like it's small town Texas. You know, Lubbock. So like he actually, I feel like ideologically had to make a bigger jump to get to Caltech.
He had to overcome a lot of
So
personal hurdles.
that being said, he was always a man who believed in taking risks and seeing out of the box. But I will say I'm the biggest risk he's taken. He's very traditional, you know. He likes his chicken noodle soup, and I mean he eats Desi food. He loves it, but like he's so traditional, like that we joke about it. I'm like, how the hell are you with me?
Yeah.
You know.
How did his family take the news of you two getting married?
Initially, well, I mean, we got married 8 years after we were dating.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
pretty recent.
He proposed to me with a 6,000 piece Lego Taj Mahal that he built.
Oh, that is
Fucking
so sweet.
nerd life.
Wait, when did you
Nerd.
when did you all get married?
2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we started dating like years ago. But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. So initially, I think both of us were like war of attrition with our families. We kind of like would casually mention each other. We're like, yeah, we're not in a hurry to get married because we didn't want to like fight any resistance.
Your parents were okay with this when you mentioned
I mean,
it
at the
to them?
point I ended up getting married to him, they were just like, just don't marry a woman, you know. Because I'd cut my hair short, you know, because
That's
that's
what-
automatic lesbian
There
code.
were rumors that were started when I donated my hair like maybe 10 years ago, and I went with like a very, very short bob, like a little bit longer than yours. And yeah, rumors just all across the masjid community and my family that I would be playing for the other team.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
When I was pitching to investors when Tim proposed to me in 2011, and I remember when they found out that I was engaged, they actually, because my DP was a female, they were like, "Oh, good, we thought you play for," like basically they thought I was a lesbian. And you're just like,
Yeah,
okay.
they were
and
afraid.
then I'm like,
They were afraid you played for the other team because you played to win.
exactly, exactly. And I'm just like, and
you
so?
beat their asses as a lesbian.
I'm like, and so, like, anyway. So yeah, so that's Tim.
That's sweet. I think we're gonna wrap up soon.
Yeah, this flew by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have such an interesting story and inspiring. I feel like I
Yeah.
need to go make a film. All right, so we have some closing questions that we usually ask our fellow Desi guests. What is this? Is this great? Make or break the stereotype?
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
ask, like, maybe like recently because your whole career is is like breaking the stereotype. But how have you like built the stereotype of a Pakistani woman, and how have you broken it?
Ooh.
How do you like play into it, and how do you break it? Even if it's like being good at driving.
I was gonna say, like, I guess I built my stereotype as like I totally love to cook for my husband.
Aw.
But I just think like, and I always used to be a rebel. Like when my mom wanted to teach me how to cook, so my rishta value would go high as a kid. But I really love to cook for him.
That's sweet.
That is
I
very
feel like
sweet.
it's weird. I feel like it's my responsibility to feed him. I don't know why I have this
I
stereotype.
think it's like empowering. I love feeding
but
friends
I think
and
it's people
family.
you
Taking
love.
care of people.
Yes,
You
that
know,
too.
if it's
Yeah.
expected off of you, you're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like doing something
And
nice for somebody.
right,
you
how
care
do I
about.
break it? I mean, come on. Like I have short hair.
You
I colored
exist.
my hair. I exist. I make movies. I'm a director. I'm a feminist.
How did you break the stereotype today?
How did I break the stereotype today?
You're running around all these meetings.
Yeah, I'm running around Hollywood, all these meetings, to networks for TV directing.
You're running meetings all day
And
long.
I'm wearing an Urdu T-shirt
Oh yeah. What does it say?
which says "I'm a rebel."
Hey.
I'm a rebel in Urdu.
And yeah, I mean, I guess I broke the stereotype by and then like
Talking to us about non-girly things.
about non-girly things, and then I broke the stereotype in the sense that today I didn't cook. Today I didn't cook.
Good for you. You took the
There you
day
go.
off.
I took the day off. No, I'm
Good.
joking. I don't cook every day. But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. I think as you said, I break the stereotype just by being who I am.
Yeah.
So,
So it's ingrained in you.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, I think we already know the answer to your favorite South Asian celebrity.
Yeah, so we'll move on from
Actually,
that.
no, there's like a new one.
Ooh,
I love,
what?
I
You
love,
betrayed him?
You
No, 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 no,
Shah
no.
Rukh?
Shah Rukh is Shah Rukh.
But you're allowing a second.
I really do. Like, I love Lily Singh.
I love her too.
I really love Lily Singh. And I love Deepika.
Ooh.
I like Deepika a lot,
I think
too.
Deepika's got some, she's like, there's something very original about her.
She's very talented.
And
And-
very
yeah.
talented. I really like her.
That's awesome. Cool. And then we usually ask this of like like non-Desi people, like if they have a weird question about us or our culture. But what is like the most like common or the unusual question you've been asked out of that, like people like the where you from type question, or like if anybody's asked you a question about your culture that was like weird or like out of the box, or
Yeah, what's the weirdest question you've ever had to answer?
about like who you are.
Desi culture.
Well, actually, about myself, I always have to answer this question of like, how do you speak such good English?
Yeah, I get that too.
When you're like, I'm from Pakistan, they're like, how do you speak such good English? Or
I
or
get that being from Texas.
That's so weird.
Especially if you're around other people who aren't born in the U.S. or like grew up in the U.S.
Or
they'll
people
just
will
like group you in.
Yeah, or people say like, I mean, can you be you in Pakistan without being killed? And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
I'm just like, I just wasn't like, yeah.
yeah.
Yes. How is it to be a female director? Like actually in India, like every journalist was like, how is it to be a female director in Pakistan? I was like, it's not that different from India. Like, I mean, actually we have more well-known female directors out of Pakistan percentage-wise.
Who are some of your favorites?
I really like, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, so the people like, so Maheen Jabbar's work is great. Afin Nathaniel did a fantastic thing called Dukhtar. We have Meenu Gaur, who co-directs with Farjad Nabi. We have Sharmeen, who's done documentaries.
She won an Oscar.
She's won 2 Oscars.
Yeah. Oh, 2
So it's like,
Oscars,
there's
right.
like a lot of women. Sabia Sumar, who did Khamosh Pani. She's the only South Asian, by the way, who has won a major A-list festival. She won a Golden Leopard at the Locarno Film Festival.
Oh, wow.
Like South Asia, like period. Anyone from
amazing. And
South
these
Asia.
are all
It's a
Pakistani
Pakistani
directors?
woman who has won.
Wow.
Hey.
And people don't know about her.
People don't know
Like
how
Anurag Kashyap
amazing.
hasn't won like an A-list festival.
I don't know why people hide how amazing Pakistani women are.
So I think that is very interesting
Yeah.
for me. And no, actually, I don't get offended. I use it as an opportunity to educate and be like,
Yeah.
actually, like, it's sad the perception is that way, but it is.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for telling the world.
I feel like there needs to be more of us doing that, though.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it. You're inspiring a new wave of people.
Yeah, and thank you for being here. We've been trying to get you on for a while, but we're happy that we got to have you on. Is there any place we can find you or anything you want to promote?
Anything I want to promote. I have an indie film finance class coming up that I want to
Ooh.
promote.
Cool.
And all that information's on Facebook. You can find me on at Iram P. Bilal on Twitter, Iram P. Bilal official on Instagram. I would love for you guys to check out my upcoming film. I'll meet you there. Urdu title is Bismil.
Yay.
When does it come out?
Oh my God, that's like
Or
such
where
a
can we
hard
see it?
question. Inshallah, I mean, we're going to finish it by mid-July, and then we're submitting to festivals, and I hope that within this next fall to like next year, you'll know of a screening close to you.
Awesome. Well, let us know. We'll tell our fans
Yeah,
and
we'll post
listeners
about it.
for sure.
That's my baby. That film is my baby. I don't think it's going to be a long while, I think, before I feel this much for another film. It's very personal.
I can't wait to see it. It's going to be great.
We are Facial Recognition Comedy. We're at Facial Recognition Comedy on Instagram and Facebook, Facial Rec Comedy on Twitter, and facialrecognitioncomedy.com. We are going to the Irvine Improv on July 23rd at 8 p.m. We're coming back to New York
Yay!
July 26th. And
11:30 p.m.
And we're also coming back in August. We have our show the second Sunday of every month at Westside Comedy Theater at 9 p.m. I'm Pallavi Gunalan, Pallavigunalan. That's my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, and my website.
And I'm Zara Ali. You can find me on all the socials as Really Zara. Zara is spelled Zahra. And Fizza, we missed her.
We missed her. You know, I have
Yeah.
to just say one thing really quickly to you guys.
What's that?
You guys have really, I don't know if you're noticing this, but just in the last 10 months, I'm noticing how much you're growing. And I know sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize it. So just mad props to the growth and like the persistence. Like you're really killing it. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you.
like from the
So
outside, I'm telling you, it's the impact. I can see it growing.
That
Thank
is
you
so
so
sweet. Thank
much.
you. Thank you for saying that.
And congratulations on being the cover photo at Salwi today, the South Asian Women in Entertainment.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
the,
that's great.
the Facebook group. It's so sweet. Bhavani Rao promotes South Asian women on this Facebook group, and it's amazing.
She's amazing.
She's great. Fizza's socials are FIZAADOSANI. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.